Hello all, welcome to my session. Today I'm just going to show you how we can authenticate OAuth 2.0 for Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. So let's start. Okay, so we should have a working environment of the Business Central, either sandbox or the production environment, and apart from it, we should have Azure permission. So for the permission and app registration, we should have an admin right so that we can log in and create that. So I am using my environment, so I'm just going to show you how we can do the app registration before generating a token and generating a OAuth authentication. So for this, I'm just logging to the Azure portal first. Okay. So right now, as you can see, we have logged in into the Azure portal. So Azure portal to for the app registration, first we need to search the Azure Active Directory, or directly you can search app registrations. Okay. Okay. So when you are in the app registration, we need to first of all register the new app. So for doing this, we click on the new registration button here, and we'll put any name like CCS. Click on register. Okay. So after registering it, you can see it provide you the application, the client ID and the tenant ID. Tenant ID is same always for the Business Central we use. I'll show you later. Okay. So after doing this registration, where we have to generate two things with this app registration. The first thing is we have to provide the permission to which app we are going to authenticate. So in my case, we are going to authenticate the Business Central app. So we'll go to the API permission page here, and you will see the add permission. We'll click on this. So you can see there are many apps already available. So from these app, we'll choose R1. So we in our case, that is Dynamic 365 Business Central. We'll click on this, and you will see there are two permissions available, so, delegated in the applications. So we'll choose the delegate. So whatever the permission you see here, just check mark all of this together and add permission. Okay, so if it is added, now you can provide the application permission as well by clicking on this application permission for the Business Central app. Add permissions. So one thing is remember here, whenever you are going to add the permission, you should have admin rights. Okay, if you don't have the admin rights, you will see here this exclamation sign or warning sign showing you that you should have a constant admin consent required. Okay, so either in your case it can be either you can ask directly to the client, they will provide you the consent by logging to this account, or you should have this admin right directly. Okay, so whenever you will see this, it will ask you since I am already an admin, so I have not there is no need to ask to someone, so it automatically granted here, right? Once it is green, then all are good and you can proceed further. So this is the first thing I told you, the API permission we have to generate. The second thing is we have to now create the certification and secrets. Okay, so for doing this activity, we'll go to here and we'll create a new client secret. Okay, so now this is the main, this is the major part for Auth2 authentication, because generally what happens when you generate a token, for your web service key. So it required to generate a secret. It required to register a secret first. If there is no secret, then you will not be able to create a token anymore. Okay, so for doing this, put a description here, anything like secret. So here you see there are some validity you can put by yourself. Okay, 3 months, 12 months, 18 months. It means whenever you are creating a secret, the validity of the secret would be the time period which you have entered here. So in my case, I'm using the 3 months. Right? Okay, now you see as soon as you had created a new secret, it will give you the two things, the value and the secret ID. The value is the most important thing. Just copy it and put it in your notepad or somewhere else. Save it. This is the one-time activity, because whenever you will refresh this screen, you will not be able to get this ID again. So better, whenever you are registering the secret, just copy it and save it somewhere else. Okay. Now this is done. Go to the overview. So you will see that we have our display name here, client ID, tenant ID, and my secret. When secret is generated, we click on it again and refresh the page. You will see the value is no more available to copy. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now the second part is we have to provide an application ID URL. It means whenever you are sending a call request to Business Central, in which URL it should go and ask you the credential. So this is the part where we have to provide that application ID URL. So for doing this, we'll add a scope. No, here. 1 second. Okay, not here. This is the authentication menu here. So we'll have to add a platform, and it will ask you which type of application you are going to use. So in my case, it would be mobile and desktop applications. So I'll use this, and we'll provide a custom redirect URL. So as soon as you send a token request, it will redirect you with this URL which you will give here. Okay, so I had copied some of the URL already. So let me give you. Later you can change if you think that there is something problem or system is not redirecting your URL to this URL. So you can change anytime. So let me confirm what is the correct one. If I go to my this. Okay, save it. So that's it. This is the app registration part. We have successfully created our app registration. Now I'm just showing you how we can generate a token and request for a UPI, sorry, API from the our web services kind of view for the business center. So for this, I'm using the Postman. So in the Postman, you will see in the authorization tab, you have a type. There are many types. So in our case, before OAuth2, we used to have this basic authorization where we'll put our web service username for the client username, like Nexon1 or whatever the client ID, and the password will be your web service key, right? So we are eliminating this and using the OAuth2. Okay, so now in the OAuth2 we will see there are two more tabs is generated now. The first one is the current token, and the second one is configuration of the new token. So we'll complete this part first, configuration of the new token. So for doing this, you can put any name, like in this case, this is token, and the grant type you will choose here, the client credentials. Now the major part is we need to remember, we need to put these all four property, the access token URL, client ID, client secret, and the scope. So how and from where you will take this value. So for doing this, let's go back to the your app registration part. Open your app which you have registered now. Click on the endpoints. Okay, so now you will see there are endpoints we have already generated by the system. So first one is the authorization endpoint v2 and the token endpoint for v2. V2 is for the authentication version 2. Okay, so now copy this authorization endpoint first. Go back to your Postman or whatever the application you are using. Not authorization one, the token one. This one. Now the client ID. Client ID would be the same at the time of the registration you did. This is the client ID. Copy it here. And the secret ID. Secret ID you have to take the earlier you have saved somewhere else. So in my case, it would be the notepad. Copy. Now the scope. The scope would be same in my Venice Central case. It would be HTTPS this one dot default. Now the client authentication would be standard basic authentication with the header one. So there are two options. Either I can send my authentication using the header values, these header values, or I can send my authentication with the body. So I'm not sending any credential to the body, so I'm using the basic authentication with the header values. So this is the one. Now you see we have the access token, available token, and access token is blank, and the header prefix will be the bearer. So every time whenever you are using the authentication tool, the header prefix would be bearer. So there is nothing to change. After you put everything here, just click on get new access token. Let me clear cookies. Saved already. In my case, I was testing before, so it is saved already. Okay. So as let me tell you the step what happens. Whenever you click on the get new access token, it asks you the login window and asks you which user ID you want to get the token. So in my case, I would use the same user ID which I used for the login of the Azure portal. Okay, after providing that, it will click on the get new access button. It will generate a new token here like this. Just use the token. Now you see.
Nitin, sorry to interrupt you. I want to add one thing. Actually, if you will use, can you go to the grant type and select rather than client credential? And show the option in grant type. Yep, if you select authorization code, in that case, it will ask you for user ID and password. If you are selecting client credentials, it will not ask you user ID and password, whatever you were referring, if I am right.
No, actually what happens in either case, like you are using authorization code or the client credential first time you are using. So in either case, it will ask you the credentials.
No, never. If you are using client credentials, it will never ask you for user ID and password. That is the benefit of using client credentials.
Okay, okay. So no problem. So as soon as I click on the proceed, it will generate a new token here. I will click on the user token here. So you see the token has been generated and copied itself into this value, into this field. Okay, now we'll try with the any API. So in my case, I'll use this. Okay. So how is the API link is same as Business Central provides the different kind of APIs we have already. So for this, you see, this is the prefix URL, same for all. And this one is the tenant ID. Tenant ID, either you remember it or you can take from the Azure portal itself. For doing this, you see, this is the tenant ID. Okay, you can put this tenant ID to the API and your environment name, and then API and select v2.0. Now click on send. Okay, so my API is generating correctly here. You see the result and status is 200. Okay. So Ratnesh, I have not created any Azure application to this environment.
Okay. Okay. That I was noticing. Yeah.
Yeah. Before yesterday I was testing, so I had created one, but today I had deleted that one and then tried. So it is working already.
Okay, means that is not mandatory step.
Yeah, that is not mandated. Okay. So this is the whole process. We are generating token and authorizing our API through the Postman. Okay, the next session I'll show you how we can generate the token through our AL code. Okay, if you have someone and you have time, so you can try by yourself, because there are some already function inbuilt in the AL code through which you can generate a token and try to get and post method with the particular of the API.
Sure.
Okay, so there is one thing we can try now. If I show you, I open a new one and suppose I am a vendor and I am going to consume your API. Okay, so now I'm not going to provide anything here. So what I'll do, I'll delete. Now the vendor will consume our API. So to consume the API, we'll provide them our token, right? So in my case, this is my token. I will copy it, or he will generate whenever he want to consume this API. So now I will copy and paste here and try to consume this API now. You see? So there is, I'm not going to use this one, only I have provided this token to my client so that he can consume that API. So there are two ways. Either we can provide the token on the real-time basis, or we can ask them to generate a token by itself every time if he has admin credential or whatever the user permission.
Okay.
You understand this part?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Any question, Raghu?
Yeah, we will try anything. Because
Yeah.
I'll try. If anything, I will reach out to you.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining this session. So I'll try to in the next session how we can generate this token and consume the API using the AL code.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Navit.
Thanks, Nidhi.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks.